Hey everyone, this is Matthew, the founder of Sobriety Sounds. I can't tell you how excited I am to be able to show you guys one of our fully configured laptops. I've spent the last 4 months reaching out to leading software companies in the music production industry, gotten tens of thousands of dollars worth of software licenses donated, and it took forever to get on these laptops, but now it is fully done and we've got all the software that we set out to get. I'm ready to show you what it looks like. Just a little background, Sobriety Sounds, our main goal has always been to have a space of our own. When it comes to our mission, making musical instruments, recording equipment, writing space, and music education, when it comes to making that consistently accessible to the addiction recovery community, the most effective way of doing that is by having our own space where we can have regular operating hours. However, obtaining a space of our own is incredibly expensive, so we created our satellite network. So we're gonna take 3 of our fully configured laptops and designate them to our satellite program. The way it works is Sobriety Sounds will partner with organizations in the Rochester community that do work aligning with our mission. We would loan out for free our music equipment so that that hosting organization can have a music station at their location and expand their services. And this music station will have one of our fully configured laptops with all the awesome software that's on it. It'll have a microphone, a guitar, keyboard, everything that somebody would need to sit down and start being creative musically and be able to record it. So the hosting organization would be able to host that equipment for free, but where Sobriety Sounds is going to be able to eventually afford our own space through our satellite network, the hosting organizations will then be able to hire Sobriety Sounds to teach workshops based on the hardware and software at their locations. So it's going to be a great way for partnering organizations to expand their services without needing excess knowledge to manage it, because Sobriety Sounds manages it. And also a great way for Sobriety Sounds to continue working towards obtaining a space of our own. But enough talking about that. Let's jump into this. Let me show you what our laptops look like. So as soon as somebody sits down at one of our laptops, all they do is they click and then they'll enter the password sobriety, and then as soon as they log in, Google Chrome is configured to automatically open up to 3 different tabs. The first tab is Slack, which is a communications application. The second tab is Google Space, which for those of you not familiar with it, that's a communication platform as well, except Google Space only gets messages sent directly to Sobriety Sounds, whereas Slack gets seen amongst everybody in our satellite network. And then the third tab is Google Drive. But this Google Drive is a shared Google Drive amongst all of our satellites. It's where they can access learning material, custom knowledge articles and videos. They can access shared data, shared pictures, and user guides. I want to talk a little bit more about Slack though. So the benefit of us using Slack is right here on the left-hand side, these channels. So users can talk about different topics related to these channels. So if they have a question about a specific software like Acoustica 7 or Mixcraft, which are both software available on our laptops, they can utilize the corresponding channel so that all of the communication as it relates to that specific software can be viewed in one central area. But we also have tabs like the Collaborate tab, where person A from Satellite 1 can collaborate with person B from Satellite 3. After a lot of our workshops, we're going to be giving challenges as well. Our first challenge is going to be, we're going to provide the users a fully completed song, and their challenge would be to add drums to it. So the song that we give them would have everything but drums, and then for that week, they would attempt to add drums themselves. And they have all the resources available to them to be able to do that. Also, if they have specific questions as it relates to the hardware, they can utilize that channel, they can show off their work, and there's an urgent tab in case somebody needs immediate assistance. All right, so I'm gonna close out of Chrome, and this is what our desktop looks like. This is what every laptop's desktop is. Just to break it down by section, here at the top left, these are all custom Sobriety Sounds icons. This row here are some of the most common audio recording programs. This line has to do with beat making programs, drum loops, vocal editing software, which is Melodyne, and standalone plugins. So if you're not familiar with what a plugin is, you're definitely going to know what it is by the end of this video. And then we have an icon that leads to all of the free software that's on our laptop. So we definitely have applications that cost money because those licenses were donated to Sobriety Sounds, but it was important to us to make free programs accessible on our laptops, because if a user wants to learn and create inside of a software that has no cost to it, that means that they can work and get introduced and learn on that free software from our machine, and then immediately go home and install it on one of their own computers and pick up where they left off. Right down here, these are free video editing software. Canva is amazing. I can't say enough great things about Canva. We have 10 Pro licenses. Users who have access to our laptops have access to the Pro version of Canva. So a good example would be after somebody's creating a song, if they want to create an album cover or a band image, they can easily do that through Canva. Towards the top right, these are all of our project folders. The benefit to saving directly to these project folders is, one, if you're working in a program called Acoustica 7 and you save your data directly to the Acoustica 7 project folder, you're not going to have a difficult time locating where you saved it. The second benefit is all of these folders are automatically backed up to your site's Google Drive. Now, I pointed out the shared Google Drive amongst all the satellites before, but each laptop inside of our satellite network has a designated email address assigned to it. And with that email address assigned to that laptop, that site gets an extra 30 gigabytes worth of cloud space. And that's where this data for all these folders get automatically backed up to. But piggybacking on the fact that they're not required to save their data in one of these folders, that's why we have this user folder right here. They can create their own folder inside of this central hub and save all of their work from whichever application that they've been using directly to their own project folder. So our laptops, they're broken out into 2 hard drives. One is the regular C drive, and then we have a P drive, which stands for project, which can be accessed through this icon. And the P drive just gives the laptop considerably more storage space. Each P drive is about 1.5 terabytes worth of space. And then down here towards the right, they probably don't need much explanation, but these are all either Google applications or internet browsers. So I'm going to go into a little bit more detail on these icons. Going up towards the top left, there's 2 primary things that someone needs to do before they can use Sobriety Sounds equipment. And those 2 things are, they need to read and acknowledge the laptop rules. Basic stuff like no eating or drinking over the equipment, treat it with respect, don't delete someone else's work. So they would need to access the laptop rules, which they can do from this icon. And it's a Google form. They fill it out, they acknowledge the rules. And then the second thing they would need to do before using Sobriety Sounds equipment is fill out our required intro form. Now, if you're an organization that's interested in having a satellite station at your location, then you're already familiar with this and have most likely been sent a proposal already. If you're interested in a satellite station, there'll be information at the end of this video, and in our proposal, these documents can be reviewed. But this required intro form is something that allows us to get to know the user. So we want to know if they're in sobriety, are they a musician, what do they hope to get out of using our equipment, what are they familiar with, and we want to know what their goals are. So this icon, all it does is it leads to a single PDF document saying what someone needs to do before using our equipment for the first time. This PDF just explains that you need to fill out the laptop rules and you need to fill out the required intro. So we have a lot of cool stuff on our satellite share drive, and one area is dedicated to learning, and that can be accessed directly through this icon. It launches up that specific area, so knowledge articles. This leads directly to our website. This leads directly to our calendar. You know, we have our main website, but we also created the Sobriety Sounds Musicians Network. And it's a great concept. What it is we've had organizations come up to us and say, hey, our organization is looking for someone to perform. Can Sobriety Sounds perform? To which I say, well, Sobriety Sounds isn't a band. So after enough people asked Sobriety Sounds to perform and me giving the answer that we're not a band, I was like, okay, we got to do something with this. So the organizations that need to hire reliable, talented musicians can do that through our Musicians Network. So Musicians in Sobriety, they apply to be part of this network, and if approved, if they meet all the criteria, then they would be first in line for any of those paid gigs that come up with partnering organizations. This icon leads directly to the Google Space area where users can send messages directly to Sobriety Sounds personnel. When we teach online workshops, they can access those online classes through this icon. This is just the desktop version of Slack. And then everything related to the challenges that we give after every workshop. So back to the example of we give the users a complete song file except the song doesn't have drums. Anything that relates to having to grab that file or upload their work so Sobriety Sounds can review it, that all gets done directly through this icon. And then for any new announcements, any new software that we install, that will be accessible through this new stuff icon, so everyone can stay up to date on what's going on. So all of our laptops have the same software, except for Ableton Live, which will only be installed on a few laptops. Ableton Live and Mixcraft Pro Studio are both audio recording programs. Mixcraft is our preferred audio program. I've been using Mixcraft for well over a decade. They were generous enough to donate all the licenses that we need, and it's a fantastic program above all else. Cakewalk is a free audio recording program, and Acoustica 7 is a fine detailing audio editing program. And what I mean by that is if I'm recording my voice and my cat Toaster comes around and meows in the background, Acoustica 7 will let me target that meow and attenuate it. So we made sure to add gigabytes upon gigabytes of drum loops. The cool thing about this is we also give out blank USBs to users, and if they want, they can take one of those USBs and copy these drum loops and then bring it back to their own home workstation. This took a while to get, but after a lot of back and forth with the company that makes FL Studio, ImageLine donated all the licenses that we need for our laptops for FL Studio. And FL Studio is one of the most well-known, comprehensive, and easy to use beat-making programs that's in existence. Melodyne is a vocal editing software. And then I'm going to explain what a plugin is in just a little bit, but a lot of the plugins that they would access through a program like Mixcraft, they can also access a lot of those directly through their desktop. Through this icon is where they would access those standalone plugins. And then we wanted to showcase all of the software that's on our laptop that's free. If a user wants to make sure that they're using a program that they can easily go install themselves on their own computer, they'll know which ones are free by accessing this free icon. Everything in here, someone can go download themselves on their own computer without paying a dime. He added some video editing software, but let me go ahead and go into a little bit more detail about our preferred audio editing program, Mixcraft. So you might be thinking that it is a little daunting to think of being able to create with audio editing programs because number one, well, I don't know how to play an instrument, and maybe I'm not really that creative. But I'm going to show you within just a few clicks how easy it can be to be creative with an audio editing program. So I'm going to open up Mixcraft. As soon as it opens up, I can make changes to how many tracks are going to show up in my workspace, what type of tracks are going to show up, what the tempo is going to be, but most people can just click OK. Alright, so I'm inside of Mixcraft. I'm not going to go over everything. I'm really not even going to go over most things. All I want to do is show to you that with no musical experience, you can be creative in a musical way. So this top track is called a MIDI track. MIDI stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface. And all I do to start that process is I double click. To get started, I click this paintbrush, and now I just paint in the notes that I want. Cool. The same keyboard shortcuts that work in Windows, so Microsoft Word or Excel, those apply here in Mixcraft. So I can press Control A to select all my notes. I can press Control C to copy my notes. And then I can press Control V to paste everything in. There's my track. I've got 4 notes continuously going. The best part about MIDI, and this really empowers the person who's sitting down at the laptop, it really empowers them to feel like they're an actual musician and eventually get to the point where they're full of music knowledge. What you do with MIDI tracks now is you can assign any virtual instrument to that pattern that I just created. Mixcraft defaults it to a piano, but all I have to do to change it is click on this little keyboard icon. And here's a list of all of the virtual instruments that I can assign to that pattern. So if I want a violin, all I do is type in the first couple letters. Here's a violin, I'll click on it. I can even search for things by category here. So if I want brass, here's something called big brass. And it goes from like drums to synth sounds. If you wanted an alien noise or some sort of futuristic rhythm, there's tons of stuff to choose from. The possibilities are endless, and a lot of virtual instruments come with extra dials. So what I want to explain to you is what is a plugin. So I'm going to close out of this window real quick. A plugin is a piece of software that works inside of another piece of software. You can correlate that with something like Excel or Microsoft Word. You can add add-ins to that software. So think of a plugin as an add-in. This sound that I have here on my MIDI track, to access my plugins, I click on this FX button, and some of the most common plugins are the same types of sounds that you would have with guitar pedals, so chorus, compressor, flanger, reverb. But you also have things like distortion. We have breath controllers, so we have a plugin that will minimize the noise of your breath. We have denoising plugins. It's an entire world in and of itself, plugins. I really got lost when I was configuring all these laptops and figuring out what software and plugins I wanted on this. Getting lost in the world of plugins is very easy. So I'm gonna add some distortion to this. Hopefully it's not too loud for you. That was very loud in my earphones, so I'm gonna choose something else. Let's do chorus. Now plugins also have a graphic user interface, which means that it has its own icons. With most plugins, you can adjust the sounds. That's how easy it is to start being creative. All I did was I double-clicked to create my track, I painted in some notes, and I selected what instrument sound I wanted to hear with my pattern. The last thing I want to show you, because I could literally just talk about this forever, the last thing I want to show you is all of the drum loops that I added into this. If I click on this library tab, here are all the drum loops that were added in. I think I mentioned this before, but people can take a USB and copy these and take them home with them if they want. I am going to hear which loop I want to add just by pressing the green play button next to each one. I think that's the one I want. All I do is I just drag it into my workspace. Make sure it's lined up, that looks good. It's not even that difficult to make this drum loop continuous. For this particular type of track, there's a loop button right here, and I can just let that keep going. So now, pretending that I'm not a musician and that I don't know anything about playing drums or piano, just within a few minutes, well, a few minutes because I explained it to you, you can do this within a minute. Now I have an actual core start to a song. How cool is that? So you don't need musical experience to be creative with music. With the world of MIDI and virtual instruments, the world of music is literally at your fingertips. You can do whatever you want. It's awesome. It's great because people who don't feel like they're creative musically can be creative musically in the world of virtual instruments and MIDI. And with the added benefit of all these drum loops, not to mention the really comprehensive drum plugins that we have, you can be creative with music without any experience, and you can do it quickly and you can feel empowered to keep going. It's not like trying to learn guitar and your fingers hurt for weeks and weeks and you get slow results. In this world, we get immediate results, instant gratification, which encourages us to continue and progress. I'm sure I said the same thing over and over again, but I just love this stuff, and I can't wait for people to benefit from the world of audio production and virtual instruments and MIDI the way that I have in my recovery. It's just incredible. So I'm gonna close out of this. That is all that I have to show you guys today. I'm gonna leave some information up on the screen here. So if you guys are interested in having a satellite station at your organization, the email address is adminsatellite@sobrietysounds.org. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. My email is mhoy@sobrietysounds.org. We also have a website specifically dedicated to our satellite network, which is satellitenetwork.sobrietysounds.org. Now, organizations that want to inquire about being part of our satellite network, they can go to this website and view all sorts of details related to the program. They can see what the benefits are to their organization, how much workshops, both on-site and remote, cost. They can see the expectations between organizations, what to expect from Sobriety Sounds, what Sobriety Sounds expects of your organization, and any client-facing documents like our introductory form, which users need to fill out before their very first time using our equipment, or our laptop rules, which they'll need to acknowledge before using our equipment for the first time. And also our utilization sheet, which is just a sheet that your organization keeps out next to the station. And anyone who's going to use our equipment, they write down how long they used it for, what software they used, and what they worked on. Thank you so much for checking this out, guys. I know that there's going to be people as excited as we are to bring this to the Rochester community. All right, take it easy. Bye.